Sandro Tonali to Tottenham Hotspur. Here we go. Deal done. Spurs assign Sandro Tonali.
What are the odds on him getting a gambling ban in the first 2 months of the season? Any takers? Sandro Tonali to Tottenham Hotspur, signing for a club record fee of £100 million, as well as a contract rumored to be about £275,000 per week, which puts him actually at the top of the earners at the club. This alongside a new signing of Matheus Fernandes for $85 million. Spurs are doing something that they haven't done before, which is spend money and on players that seem decent. However, I wanted to look a little bit more deeply into this topic and see if he's actually going to be a good signing and if all the hype about him joining Spurs is really worth it. To do this, I identified 3 separate points that I want to go over regarding the signing. Point number 1, availability. He has legs that work. When looking at Spurs' injury record for the season, it looks like a minesweeper field, just plus marks everywhere. It's actually ridiculous. Some players out for the entire season. Kulusevski, don't know where he's at. James Maddison as well, just been out the whole time. So they obviously need players to come in that will be able to play. And luckily for them, Tonali is a player like this. Looking at his injury record, over the past 3 seasons in the Premier League, he's missed a total of 3 games, which not too bad, which honestly, that's really good. Here's a chart of the most minutes played for last season, as well as including Sandro Tonali, from all of Spurs' players that played the most minutes. And as we can see here, with the minutes that he played at Newcastle last season, he would slot in at 3rd, which already makes him one of the most important players alongside Van de Ven and Porro and Palhinha, who is set to leave anyway, so he would slot in pretty nicely right there. The second point I wanted to bring up was regarding his creative abilities. So Spurs had a definite problem in terms of being creative on the ball and making things happen on the attacking side of the field, and defensively they weren't very good either, let's just say that. However, Tonali brings something that this Spurs team needs. So looking at goal contributions, obviously he's not very high up. He registered only 2 assists and no goals. Out of these midfielders, he's pretty low on the list. However, when we look at a radar graph of the skills and the statistics that he provides, we can see between the Spurs midfield of Bentancur, Palhinha, and Sarr, he offers a lot of creativity in terms of key passes while also having a high rate of passing volume and pass accuracy. This is an area where Spurs obviously struggle in. He blows everything out of the water in terms of key passes, and that can be a definite plus for their midfield next season. Obviously, the defensive side isn't as good. However, we shall be addressing that shortly. In point number 3, the combination of Tonali, Matheus Fernandes, and overall the spending that Spurs have done. So Spurs usually don't spend this type of money. And 2 big signings like this of Tonali and Fernandes is definitely a statement, where Fernandes can make up the defensive contributions that Tonali lacks, while Tonali is able to keep that creativity, passing volume, and the tempo of the team, which in the Zerbi pivot midfield would be a very good combo if both of them manage to stay fit. However, was he worth all that money? When we look at a radar graph of Tonali and some of the other, let's say, midfielders which are a bit better in the league, he kind of pales in comparison to the likes of Rice, Rodri, Bruno Guimaraes, which same team, and Caicedo. He is noticeably weaker in terms of passing volume, passing accuracy, and his goal contributions, even though he was much more of a standout in terms of that Spurs midfield. All of these players are more or less about 100 million. Rice 100 million, Rodri, you could say something like that. Caicedo, Guimaraes look like he's gonna go for about 80 to 100. So he's definitely on the lower end of this statistic here. As well as when doing a player overview on Gradient FC, we see that his statistics are about mid. Well, to say the least, mid. He ranks 52nd out of 110 midfielders in the season, and his key grades are just about halfway or just over half in terms of his tackling, shooting, his duel rate, passing, and just overall statistics. When we look at the comparison between Sandro Tonali and Alex Scott, it's just about the same in terms of overall grade. Tonali being the better, having more assists, better shooting grade, passing grade, and Alex Scott being a more ball-carrying midfielder. But would Alex Scott go for 100 million? I don't think so. I don't think so. And that's why I feel this signing is a little bit too expensive for what it is. If they got him for maybe 60, I'd say it was a great signing. But the market the way it is now, who knows? Who knows? So will Sandro Tonali be the answer to all of Spurs' problems for this season? Maybe this time next year we'll be excited to see what he could do in the championship. Who knows? But for now, we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. Thank you for watching and have a good one.